Hello there. Last week, Antropic released Claude 3.5 Sonnet. Previously, it was their medium-sized model, but now it's their best model as far as quality of output goes, and it's pretty fast. They also claim to beat GPT-4o on multiple of metrics. I think that in reality it's slightly less good than they claim, but it is better at analyzing images. It also almost twice cheaper at analyzing images. It also is better at writing code, and quality of outputs is good. It also is faster than GPT-4o, and I will show it to you today. But there is one more thing. They also released what they call artifacts. What is that? That is live previews of the code it wrote. And user experience of that is so good that a lot of people in the internet are reacting or even overreacting. Just take a look at these thumbnails. It's a knockout. ChatGPT is down. Claude is a new king. There is this is AGI. If this is not AGI, what is AGI? No, it's not AGI. It's very impressive. It's fast. Quality of output is good. UX feels better than ChatGPT 4o. And this is what I want to show you today. I want to show you how Claude with artifacts compares to ChatGPT with Code Interpreter and CustomGPTs. Because it's not so clearly cut. There are some things where ChatGPT is better, and there are some things where Claude is better. And they are both available for free, so you can give it a try, though limits in Claude are harder. I actually have subscription to ChatGPT for a long time, for something like over a year, and I now subscribe to Claude for a month to give it a try. But I will cancel one of the subscription at the end of the month. And I think it will be Claude. So watch and see why. Let's take a look. Here we are. Here we have Claude. The way I want to do it is that I will show you what is artifacts, how to turn them on, what you can do with them. Then I want to speak about limitations, because there are limitations. And then I want to compare them head to head with ChatGPT, with multiple things you can do in ChatGPT that are comparable. And then we will try to summarize some conclusions. Which of them is better at what? So here is Claude. I already have this experimental thingy enabled. So artifacts need to be enabled. You can enable them by going into this account thingy feature preview, and there is artifacts, and you will need to enable them here. Let's give it a try. So what artifacts are is ability to run and preview code that it generates for you, and that code can be pretty useful. One thing I had a lot of fun today with, let's start with that. I want a physics toy app where I click, a ball is created. There is center of gravity in center of the screen to which balls gravitate. Balls also should collide. Let's give it a try. So now when you ask it to write an app or some kind of code, what it will do is that it will tell you, okay, I understood your problem like this, and now I will write it for you. It will open side by side a code panel where it will write code. After which it will switch to preview sometimes it won't. So it wrote the code. I've created React component for physics toy. There are some code. We can take a look at code. Not sure how many lines is that. We will take a look later, but let's see if it works. Actually, I don't see that it's working. So, okay, first try didn't work. When I click, I don't see any balls created. So it can write code, it can preview it. It should be a live preview that we sadly don't see here this time, because it made some kind of mistake. We were not lucky today. But it can iterate on it. There is a first issue with this iteration though. Click anywhere on canvas, there is code. Actually wonder if I can debug it or something. Nope, I don't see any errors. So I'm unlucky today. Let's try again. Start a new chat and let's try to copy the original prompt I gave it before when I was testing things. Yeah, actually, let's do this. And I think it's gonna fail on the other way. Sadly, I'm starting with showing you errors first. So it's trying again. What's interesting here, it's importing third-party library. So that's something that Code Interpreter in ChatGPT actually doesn't do. It tries to import libraries from third parties. ChatGPT doesn't allow it. Claude in some cases does. Let's copy the error back into the chat and see what it's gonna do. So it can iterate on the code. One problem though is that it always starts to write from scratch. Okay, it actually did it. The only issue, it's not interactive. I mean, it's kind of interactive, it's kind of like animating. We can restart. But it works. This time it actually doesn't use any kind of third-party code import. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. From what I saw, it has to do with the source from where it imports. It allows only to import from like content delivery network from Cloudflare. If you're trying to import something from elsewhere, it doesn't work. It's also React. Let's ask something slightly different. I want it as JavaScript and not React. Can you then import from Cloudflare box 2D? I just want to try. Okay, now it writes this as a JavaScript page, HTML with some JavaScript instead of React. Let's see how that works. Okay, it did that, but now it cannot preview. So I'm not sure why, but it didn't like something about this. I'm really hitting things that don't work. Seems it does not preview. Let's return to previous React example. 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 I want it to start with 0 balls. I want balls to be created on click. What else? And I want them to collide. Let's try to ask it this. Let's see. Let's see if we can return to a situation where it does preview. Because here it didn't preview at all. And we don't know why. For some reason, I think maybe we can ask it. I think next we'll ask it. For HTML example before, you could not preview it. Why? Let's ask it this. Don't generate. I am just curious. Let's see if it can answer. I understand you are curious about why HTML example won't be previewed. Thank you for asking. That's a good opportunity to clarify. The reason the HTML example couldn't be previewed is due to limitations of that chat interface and specific requirements running that simulation. Here are the key factors. External script dependency. Okay, so I guess it still doesn't like some external dependencies. Does it use any here? Well, I mean, it uses React, which is kind of external one. Full HTML document. The example was complete HTML document that chat interface designed to render individual components or snippets. Canvas rendering, lack of sandboxing. So sometimes it actually works. It's a bit unclear. But let's see actually. Oh my god. It crashed we need to take a look at console. Let's give it this code to see if it can improve. Now, this is something, again, only developer could do. So I apologize for our side. The error occurs because a particle class defined inside blah, 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 blah. So something was off. And it writes again from the scratch. That's one of the problems where it will sometimes overwrite things differently that it should not have overwritten. Oh, yay, it works. Yay, ding, ding, ding. Now this is fun. When I was learning programming, I was playing a lot with this kind of things. I don't know about you, I really enjoy physics simulations like this. Let's restart and try to do it this way. I feel like gravity is too strong. Make gravity force weaker. Make planet a static ball larger. Actually, make two centers of gravity which are also static large balls that created balls collide with. Still, pretty fun. And you cannot do this at ChatGPT, at least not in such interactive manner. You can ask it to write this code, download it, open it. Yeah, more actions. Not as enjoyable as this. Okay, now we have two centers of gravity. Let's see. Okay, I was more lucky back in the day. It was actually without errors doing things. So one of my conclusions from playing with Claude so far was that it's better at this than ChatGPT. But now in this demo, I don't know, demo gods effect. We are unlucky, we're cursed by doing live demo. It's actually performing approximately in the same level as 4.0. And I will show you later. We will try to recreate this with ChatGPT later and see how that performs. So, okay. Okay, now gravity is too weak. Now gravity is too weak. Make it in the middle of what you had before, and now I wonder if that's gonna work. And I hope it's not gonna introduce an error. Or we will need to ask. Now, the problem with this is that each time it makes an error, we need to make a new call. And we have a limitation of how many calls we can do per hour or something, both in ChatGPT and here. So quality of model output, how it can one-shot output correct code, is pretty important. It saves us time, it saves us costs, basically. And it saves costs for them. We need to run LM model less. Let's see. Okay, so I think it's slightly better. Let's try something. Okay, one thing I see that balls start with random speed. Can they start with speed of a cursor? I wonder if it can do that. This is usually kind of fun to do. So yeah, again, writing from scratch. Even though I asked it for changes, it doesn't keep stuff that worked. It writes a new, which sometimes for bigger applications is a problem. So if I stand, it should be in place. Let's try to drop it in a way where it doesn't gravitate to any of the planets. And it is going by the middle. Okay, it was a little bit too close to planet on the left. Let's try again. That's kind of too far. Let's try here. Okay, now let's see if actually it's not. It's still kind of random, no? Oh, it isn't. Interesting, it collides with the bounding box as well. Make it not collide with bounding box. Pretty fun. What also is good is that it's fast. We'll try ChatGPT later and we'll see that it feels like it's, I don't know, subjectively feels like it's twice faster. Still, for writing this kind of large applications, it's So can I? Yay! Oh my God! It teleports to the other side. This is not what I meant. Can we put it on a trajectory? No. Okay. Now I want 3 planets in a triangle with centers of gravity. And what else? I want balls to be twice smaller. Last thing, and then we're gonna go to the next topic of limitations. We already encountered some, so it encounters errors, but it's not, how to put it? It encounters errors, but it does not encounter, it doesn't know about it. You need, as a user, go yourself and investigate. That's not a good UX. Okay, 3. Yeah. I have some kind of feeling that it's kind of less enjoyable than one simulation I did before. Like there is something about gravity that it's too weak afar and too strong when close. It's actually kind of interesting to put it here. There's something weird where it feels like the more balls you have, the faster the thing goes. I don't know. I would need to read the code to understand what the hell is happening. Yeah, but anyways, back in the day, this was taking hours for me to build and debug. But yeah, again, this is like an engine. It wrote the whole freaking physics. There is no third-party libraries. It's a whole physics in here. We can actually check how many lines of code that is. Oops. Now we can copy, I think, yeah? Yeah. I don't know. Lines of text. Calendar is... how many lines? How many lines text has? Let's check. Yeah. 207 lines physics simulation in, what, dozen of minutes? In fact, it was... you can get it even faster. So anyways, that's the artifacts. Limitations. Let's go over to limitations. One thing I wanted to visit about, like we already spoke, that it sometimes it does errors, and you need to tell it what kind of error. Then it can fix it, but it cannot check it itself. That's a problem. One of the problems it has. Another problem is that it can only generate one file. There are no multi-file generations, and it does full rewrites that can introduce new errors in places that worked fine before. It's also slower and spends more like tokens for them. And yeah, debugging. There is one more issue with how it works, and that has to do with context size. So we all heard about context size or token counts that we can input. Claude has something like 2000 tokens. but they don't share. We can actually search. So Sonnet 3.5 token counts. Sonnet 3.5 token counts context. So yeah, usually it has 2000 tokens. So token is something like a word. So they have 2000 tokens inputs. I want to actually find their official page for it. Like API or something. API, Antropic, Sonnet, token. There are prices, and yeah, so their context window, this is how much you can put into the chat, or rather how big the whole chat can be. It's 2000 tokens at 200,000 tokens, 200,000 words. That's a lot, but still limited. But this is inputs. There is one thing they actually are not speaking about here, and it's outputs. And outputs for GPT-4, for 4.0, the Omni, 4.0 Omni from ChatGPT from OpenAI, for most models, it's 4,000 tokens. What this means is that it can only write 4,000 tokens long application. And I have actually a tokenizer for ChatGPT models here for GPT-4. And we can take a look how big this is. So we can copy code, we can go here and see that this was 857 tokens. So kind of like words. 200 lines, 800 tokens. So there is limit on the size that artifact of the app that artifact can create. Something like 4 times more. For example, if we would like to make actually wrong, that was wrong, sorry. I needed to copy this code. Actually, the physics simulation was 1,646 tokens. So this application can only be twice as large. What happens when we ask it to do something bigger? Well, that's something I did when I first tried. Because I had an application here that I was working over last week. I needed a way to quickly visualize audio wave. And this application, I can add to it, let's say, some kind of video. Let's do this. We can see that it's 50 seconds long, 49 seconds long. And it's from 0 to 49. It draws this audio chart. We can say that now we went from 0 to 10, and we see it from here. We can actually scale and see that, okay, that's new. Like that's where the sound is in this video. There is some sounds at the start, and then there is a lot of silence. So I needed this for one app that I was working on. And I wanted to make it look better. You can see that it's very bare bone. That's not how you would like to present it. So I gave that code to Claude and asked it, like, hey, what does this do? Can you make? So I gave that code to Claude and asked it, what does it do? Can you make it more beautiful? And gave the code. It told me that this is audio visualization, so it understood the code, described what it does, and started to do the code. And rewrote the code here. It's whole code, and you can again see that it doesn't preview. So I will need to go to my local thing. So I copied the code, I go here, and I replace my code, and now I can preview it. And that's what it did. Already looks better, right? Not as verbal, slightly better. I can now try to add file. Let's add the same file. It did load, it showed me these things, and it didn't do anything here. I don't see the chart. And it doesn't preview in the chat. So I told it, I actually went to read the code that it generated, which took time from me, and said, hey, here is the part you got wrong. Fix it. I said, you're absolutely right, blah, 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 let's fix it. And gave me this code. I can copy it again. Let's go here, paste it, and try to preview again. So it looks the same. We're gonna go again. We're gonna take again 49. And this time it's not even showing time. So it didn't work for me. I tried once more, but I also checked what's happening. And what's happening is the token size problem. Because if we read the code, we will see this. It says like, okay, here is the code. I rewrote it completely, but it was too big for me to generate. Here, use remaining code. It didn't print out complete code. So even if it could preview it, it would not work. And I need to go and patch it by hand. And this is one of the problems with artifacts in Claude. It cannot work with large things. It cannot work with multiple files. And it always rewrites from start, and it can introduce new errors, and it can skip code. So you will need to go and patch it by hand. In the end, it's not magic, it's limited. Still, it did help me. I somewhere have, like, I needed to patch it by hand, but in the end, the result I got is this, which is pretty nice. I still would prefer a couple of improvements, but it's like this. Let's, for comparison, go here back to original state and load the same file. See, so it did help me to get from here to here, but I needed pretty quickly. But still, I needed to go read code and fix issues that it created. So yeah, there is 4,000 token limitation of how big the app can be. It doesn't really iterate. It writes files from scratch, introduces new errors, and yeah, does incomplete generations when things get too big. So how does this compare to ChatGPT? Well, let's take a look. So ChatGPT has multiple ways to do something similar to artifacts, but different. First one is Code Interpreter. And it will be interesting to compare. Let's find some kind of data. I don't know. What could be interesting? Actually, Nvidia stock options history CSV. Let's try to work with CSV file. Can we get some kind of CSV file we can download? Was there? There's a table. Let's copy the table. I hope they will be able to use it. So let's try to compare ChatGPT in drawing charts. Here is Nvidia stocks. Draw me a chart. Let's copy this thing and give it to Claude in new chat to compare. Let's start a new chat and ask it to do the same thing. What? Okay, read the file. I wonder it's gonna do work. So when you paste a large text, it will, yeah, so it creates a chart now. And let's take a look at ChatGPT. So what ChatGPT does, comparison, so what this does is that it writes JavaScript code or React code in this case that runs in the browser. This actually runs on their, like on their web page. It's here on your computer. While ChatGPT Code Interpreter they released a year ago writes the thing into a Python script that doesn't run in your browser. Instead, it runs on their servers in a secure sandboxed environment. And here, it's kind of funny. It's interesting to compare. You can already see that it feels slower, right? And it's actually pretty good. We got a problem, and we will speak in a minute about that to compare how Code Interpreter works versus artifacts. So this worked from the first try. We got a chart Actually, I'm not sure. So it's actually going down. So stock prices were going down. Interesting. I thought that Nvidia goes up. Let's take a look at code. Oh, that's interesting. One thing that they did, they only, I mean, we pasted a lot of data, but they only gave us this. And I wonder if it's a hallucination. So close. Let's take a look. Close date 26th 640. Let's go up. 26. What? There is no 26.6. And close was. So actually, Claude hallucinated. That is very weird. Wait. 2625. This is correct. It hallucinated one date? Wait, it's 23. Okay. 26th of year 23. Which we. Oh, okay. Okay, no, it's not hallucinated. It works. I got confused. It draws it in reverse. So this is the newest. This is the oldest. So it grew from 40 to 126. Okay, now it's correct. It's just confusing that it's in reverse. Okay, let's go back into the chat and see what's happening here into ChatGPT. So what's interesting here, it's still working. This is one of my actually conclusion interesting ones, that ChatGPT is at the moment, its output quality is worse. Quite often, Sonnet is gonna get something right from the first try. ChatGPT, on the other hand, will make mistakes. But what is different here, when mistake happens here, then Claude cannot fix it. It doesn't even see. There is no feedback coming from the preview back into the chat so it can check and like test it and see the error and try to fix it. ChatGPT, on the other hand, writes a Python script. It runs it, it gets an error, sees it, and tries to go and fix it. In this case, it gets the error second time, tries again, and again, and again. So I think we probably should stop here and try to do it slightly differently. Where can we can download. Actually, let's try again in new chats and try again with a file in both cases. So let's drop a file here and ask, can you draw me a chart for this CSV data? So we dropped a whole table here as a file. Now it's gonna read a file and it doesn't need to output it into the like through LLM. Now let's see what Claude does in this case. Let's drop a file and say, draw me a chart for this CSV. Okay, was very fast, right? Claude is still working. It outputted it as a table and then wrote some code where it is like a result of it was an image, and we here see it was not even an image. It is, yeah, it's a new little bit thing. It's interactive and you can download it. That's probably the closest thing you have to artifacts in ChatGPT. So we have an interactive chart that just read the file. So what's interesting, I gave it a file, it read it, it outputted it so that, and it outputted only had few rows. So it outputted only few rows so it can understand what is in the file. It outputted text back into the chat, understood what is the format of the file, and then wrote code to visualize it. And we have visualized chart in ChatGPT. Sadly, we cannot make a game with it. And here doesn't work because it outputted again into the as a text. It actually doesn't work. Last time it worked. It was interesting why. And I don't see error, so I cannot. Let's say that it doesn't. I see nothing. What can be wrong? So again, interesting, but oops, interesting, but it seems like yeah. When I was testing in my own, it felt that Sonnet is better. Sometimes it's worse. Okay, now it did something. What did it do? It drew an SVG. So it's not even interactive, it's just a vector image. So what is interesting here and how Cloud Code Interpreter in ChatGPT is better, it can work with files actually. Here, you would need to do it slightly differently. Let's actually try. I can teach you what we need to do for this to work differently. Make it a file input that loads CSV with same format and draws for loaded CSV the chart. Let's try it this way. I think maybe now it's gonna work. So it's gonna use React. It's writing now code that will actually have a file upload button. You can upload and it will draw a chart. I hope it's gonna draw a chart. So here it is, very fast in this case. Let's go to downloads, Nvidia CSV. Okay, nothing happened on the first try. There are no errors. I picked the, let's take a look again. So, not perfect. So it's a React on load. So it's reading file on load. It does set chart data. Handle. Okay, I will need to read a lot. I don't want to do that now. Let's see. So I picked the file, but nothing rendered. And there was no errors. Interesting. Let's allow it to give one more try. So CSV file upload and chart renderer with error handling. Okay, now that the error handling, maybe we will be able to see an error. Okay, let's give it another try. There is no error. Okay, we are not lucky. I will not spend more time here, but yes, doesn't work. Okay, so that's Code Interpreter. What we can summarize here, it's better at working with files. It is, it doesn't output them through the context and text for artifacts like Claude does. It works on a server, so it doesn't produce same interactive experiences. It will only able to generate a HTML page for you. You download it and run it yourself. It will not preview anything else. It did preview interactive chart, but it's only for charts. Nothing else is supported at the moment. What else? Code Interpreter, by running the code and saying the errors, can iterate itself. In the previous chat, we saw that it was iterating and trying to fix the error. It was failing, but sometimes, like it tries second, third, fourth time, and it actually fixes the error. Claude doesn't do that. You need to check the error, tell it about the error, and will try to fix. And yeah, I think it's worse. So yeah, basically, Claude wins on being interactive. ChatGPT wins on working with files better and with being able to iterate on errors. Code Interpreter wins this way. Let's go to the next section. Let me check. Oh, one more thing. Claude always rewrites from scratch. Code Interpreter actually expands. It wrote this code, it's still in context and running. It wrote more code, and it also, like, it can modify. Let's actually try to show how it can modify differently. Let's see. Matplotlib. Can you draw a couple of things? Not one line. Let's see what it does. So what's interesting here, let's take a look. We actually can see already here. So file path, Nvidia CSV, Nvidia data, we loaded it. We go to the second code block that it wrote afterwards, and it says Nvidia data date. You can see that it's using in second block a variable from first block. So in comparison to Claude Antropic that rewrites from 0 each time, the code interpreter actually expands on code from before. And I asked it to do more things. We can see two charts now. And we can see that it didn't load anything. It didn't load plotlib that it uses to show the chart. It actually wrote additional code and run it in context of previous code where data is available, where plotlib is available, and gave us a new chart. This is actually a good thing. This is what Claude cannot yet do. But Code Interpreter also has an issue here. When I open a chat, let's go to some older chat that we tried something like Physics Toy. We can preview and it works, right? When I would go in ChatGPT to an old chat and will try to ask something like here, it will also try to expand on code, but by this time the server instance in which the code was shut down. After you leave a chat, we can try, I'm not sure it's gonna work. Drop 3 lines now. Let's see what happens. But basically, when you leave the chat for some time, the instance is shut down. It will still, from the context of the chat, try to expand on code, but it will not be there. It will encounter an error, and then it will understand that, hey, it seems that code or files are not there. Actually, I will need to upload file again. It will lose the file. And, well, for now it works, but it will lose code, it will lose context, it will lose files, and it will ask you to upload file again. It will write the code again. So while you're in the chat, it works better to some extent than Claude. But when you leave and return, it kind of like same or worse than Claude. That's one of the issues that Code Interpreter has. Another issue that Code Interpreter has in comparison to Claude Artifacts is that it cannot do interactive demos for you. It can output charts, but almost nothing else. So if we start a new chat and say that I want a web app with balls and gravity and balls collide, it will create for you the code, but it will not be able to preview or run it. In this sense, Claude wins. Interactivity is pretty fun. It's a big deal. I wonder when ChatGPT is going to do something like this. So it's not interactive, sessions die, and yeah, in some ways it's better, in some ways it's worse. Now, ChatGPT has another advantage though that Claude doesn't have, and I wonder when they're gonna do it. Because for now, my main reason why I would cancel Claude is that, and it's CustomGPTs. Let's take a look. So you can find them in the side panel, but sometimes they kind of fail to load or something. And you will see ability to explore GPTs there. What GPTs are is something like Chrome extensions, but for ChatGPT. They allow people to make custom prompts and workflows, save them as a ChatGPT, custom ChatGPT, and share it with you, like here. And they can also call third-party websites for functionality that ChatGPT or Claude doesn't have. For example, you can do search. Let's say find for me documentation on box 2D physics library in JavaScript. What types are there and which is better and faster? So I asked it to find me documentation, and it searched Bing, found 5 links, went, read 5 links, and gave me like, hey, there is like Omni, here are the links. Let's actually ask Claude for the same thing and see what it does and compare the results. Let's start a new chat and ask it this and see what it does. I'll be happy to help you find information about blah, 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 blah. That said, I'm not aware of widely used physics libraries. Instead, let me tell you about some popular libraries it gave for. There's physics.js, okay. These libraries typically offer various blah, blah, blah. As far as which better or faster, it often depends on specific use case. Links to them. I wonder if it will be able to generate links. I apologize, but I'm not able to provide direct links. So it gave it out of its own learning context. This usually is prone to hallucinations, so it could be false. I think in this case it's actually true. Let's take a look. So what it found, Oimo.js, we have it here. Okay, true. Canon.js, okay. Amo.js, yes. That's only 3 that ChatGPT gave. It did not find, so Oimo Physics, Canon, Oimo, Amo. Okay, what is that? Let's search. Is this hallucination? No, there is actually this kind of thing. So it was not a hallucination. But it doesn't search the internet. So while ChatGPT pulled out documentations and can comment on things, actually, what is conclusion? For simplicity and ease of use, Canon is better. For lightweight application, Oimo. For maximum features and robustness, Amo. Okay, so it gave some kind of conclusions. It searched. Claude cannot search. What's worse, there are interesting third-party custom GPTs for research that actually connect not to Bing. They search in specific databases of scientific articles or some other things. You can find custom GPTs that are for documentation. Let's check documentation. AI API documentation, for example. So there are custom GPTs that can search or already have documents for documentations. And what's interesting, when you're coding with ChatGPT, you can pull out the documentation and ask it to build something based on the documentation. And the thing is that these models, they have a cutoff on knowledge and they also hallucinate. So when you do this, you get better results, and you cannot do this in Claude. This is one of the ways in which ChatGPT is better. Okay, next, custom GPTs. Let's compare something interesting. Mermaid.js, custom GPT in ChatGPT. And let's start anew. Okay, and ask Claude something like, I want a mind map of, what do we want mind map of? Oops. I want a mind map of, I don't know, physics engines using Mermaid diagrams. Let's do it here, and let's do it here. And let's see. Claude already generating something, and it gave us something like this right here in chat. Let's compare to what ChatGPT does. So what's happening here is that this is third-party Mermaid.js. This is actually from creators of this diagramming tool. And it asks us that it wants to make a call to their website with this kind of arguments. It wants to create a mindmap.md file. And I want to say always allow, so it doesn't always ask when I do this. So now it made a call. It created a file. Now it writes out what kind of structure the mind map is going to have. Now it writes the syntax for Mermaid.js, and it again makes a call where it says, okay, code this. So it just sent the code to a third-party website. And we got an image back from there that is slightly smaller than what Claude did. So applications, components, Havoc, something, they did slightly different things. And here we have rigid bodies, hybrid engines, particle systems, solved body physics, something. But it also gave us a link, Mermaid chart editor. We can open the link. Mermaid own website is opening. We see the interactive code editor here, and we see this thing, and we can do some stuff here. So this is what Claude doesn't have. They don't have integration ability to make something like a Chrome extension that allow people to extend what Claude can do. Because ChatGPT can be extended by access to information Claude doesn't have, and ability to make actions that Claude cannot do. In this sense, ChatGPT is still better. And I think here, so I would still say that on UX side, this feels slightly worse. But in functionality, ChatGPT does feel better in what you can do with it than Claude currently. Exactly to this reason that third parties cannot extend Claude in way they can extend ChatGPT. Okay, now let's take a look at a couple of more examples of how you can actually do things that are similar to Claude Artifacts, but in ChatGPT. Let's go back to our physics gravity toy and try to do something similar, but in ChatGPT. So I have a custom GPT open here that is called Playgrounds. It's something similar to what we saw just with with the Mermaid, but it's for interactive toys. Let's give it the same prompt that we gave to Claude. Oh, oops, I didn't copy it correctly. And see what's gonna happen. And let's try to get to a similar result to which we got with Claude, but in this toy. So one thing I can say about this custom GPT is that UX, again, it could be slightly worse in a sense that they are set up in ways that maybe they are too verbose and they're writing a lot of stuff. So what did happen here? It brainstormed what it wants to do. It wants to create a playground, implement both 2D physics, add functionality, do something, creating playground. It created a playground with certain size. Step 2, it went to try to create things. It wrote this kind of JavaScript code, still writing. Claude in this thing, in this sense, feels faster. Okay. And yeah, again, this is something I kind of dislike. Sometimes Claude does it too, but it wrote code once, and now it's actually writing the code second time. UX is kind of better in Claude in this sense. It writes code second time to send it to the third party. So it's sending like, okay, playground ID, name, here is like code. It's also writes some changelog, verify and test the implementation, like go to the, like, let's go to the link. So we are here. There are runtimes that are present in this playground. If you are a creator of this playground, please instruct your LM to check for errors. Okay, so this already is slightly better than Claude in a sense that it can check errors. I tried, there was errors, check. So now it's gonna go and try to retrieve errors from this sandbox. Pretty cool. Author did a good job. Let's see. It went and asked, like, were there like errors? Error message indicates that box2d is not defined. Include box2d from CDN, correct the code. That's gonna be interesting. I'm actually not sure that this playground allows ability to load third-party libraries. This is something that Claude can do sometimes, and sometimes it fails. Let's see. So it wrote code again. I don't think I actually want to see it. Now it writes it for a second time to send it to the playground. And it's slower than Sonnet. Mm-hmm. I actually wonder if it's rewriting from scratch. Oh my, yeah, it does. So in this sense, it's similar to Claude 1.1. So this playground in ChatGPT always writes complete changes. Okay, so it tried. Okay, there was error again. There was error again. I probably know. Oh, interesting. It had a syntax error. So that is in a way. This is actually an example of how I think that artifacts in Cloud are better. In my experience, ChatGPT does errors more often. So what takes Cloud one message sometimes takes 3 or 5 in ChatGPT. Sometimes it works perfect from the first time and it's pure magic. Kind of like it more often feels like this in Cloud. But so far we're kind of failing. I I I think I kind of know what's the reason. And the bigger problem is speed currently. I will cut it out later from the recording, so you don't need to wait. Actually, maybe I won't, because yeah, I want you to see how that is. So it corrected it. What was here, by the way? Yeah, it was is missing some kind of syntax, a bracket. Actually, never saw Sonnet doing this error, like generating incomplete code. Usually it does generate code that works, it just misses stuff and has errors that are not about code but about runtime errors that it doesn't see. What? Oh wow. It's actually iterating. The only issue with that is that it's slow, which is nothing like it's not a problem with the creator of the ChatGPT, though I would probably prompt it in a way where it doesn't show me the code unless I explicitly ask. So let's try again, and then I don't see it doesn't work. Okay, let's try a new chat. I know that it works. It's just I was wondering, but I need to ask not about Box2D. Box2D also failed in Cloud. I just here. I want a physics game with flying balls with gravity in center and balls collide. So again, it's brainstorming. And it will create a sandbox, right? Now it's writing the code now. So it created a sandbox. Now it's writing the code again. It did. It gives us a new link. It also okay. Yeah, and it's working. And it was from one prompt. The only difference was I didn't ask about Box2D. This thing actually doesn't work with third-party libraries as far as I am aware. I could be wrong. But it works. And we can iterate further, but I mean, it's a long video. Let's go to the next topic. So, but just to summarize, there are custom GPTs that expand the functionality. UX is worse, speed is worse in ChatGPT. In this sense, Claude wins. But I think expanded functionality gives ChatGPT an edge. So I don't know. We will like draw some conclusions at the end. So Claude wins on the UX, probably doesn't win on how much functionality you can get. Next, I wanted to speak about my own tool that I'm creating that is kind of similar. I call it ChatGPT Custom Commander, and I want to show you how that works and compare that to Claude. What it is a server application that you can install on your own server or locally. And actually it's installed here. I will restart it to make sure that it works. I have it running locally currently, or it can run on the server, and it gives access to terminal and to file system and to ability to create, read and edit files on your local system or on a remote server where you installed it. And you can use it to also create similar things like artifacts. Let's give it a try. So list me files in current directory. So what just happened is that it went to my custom GPT and it ran a terminal command to find files, but I have a prompter to ignore node modules. And it says, okay, here are the files. There are some server modules, there is index file, there are public files, there is a lot of files in this directory. Now, how would I share this information with Claude? I cannot. I would need to, I don't know even. Maybe I can ask Claude, give me a script. I would go to terminal, run a script, get the output, copy paste the output back. In this sense, ChatGPT allows to ask for information from remote third-party websites, or in this case from my local machine, and give it to ChatGPT quite quickly. Oh, actually, I will need to make it ignore Git. I actually stop generating. Yeah, it doesn't need to like paste that. But it basically went and read what kind of files I have in a directory. Now I can also ask it something like, find me files that contain HTML inputs. So I can ask it like, find me in a project something that does A. Let's see what it does. And it said grep, exclude node modules, search for something like this. And it found, okay, there are files in the public directory called audio, whisper, videos, audio old, audio visualizers. This is the files I was showing you that contain this. I can tell it something like, take a look at audio old HTML file. Now it's gonna read. So it tries to read the file and it gives me here right in the chat the contents of the file. Actually, I'm not interested. It read it itself. It's now showing it to me. You don't need to generate. And I can ask it to make some kind of changes like, let's actually make it more beautiful. This is something I asked Claude. Let's take a look what this does, because it does things slightly differently than Claude and than some others. So we can see that it actually says, okay, go and do something with the file, and it actually does replacements. It doesn't rewrite file completely like Claude does, it instead makes changes. Let's try. So there was an error. It looks as though there is an issue updating the file. I'll try again to make blah, blah, blah. So it made a mistake. It seems like Sonnet is better at this, but here, when it's updating files, it also sees errors automatically and tries to fix. Kind of similar like yeah, well, don't write code for me, just edit. So it can, in similar fashion like Code Interpreter, iterate. So it's now writing update again. So it wrote again a patch. Let's see. This time it worked. What's also interesting is it provides a link to updated file that we can preview. I can also ask it, give me diff. I can ask it to give me a link to a diff. No. I meant diff link. We can also preview diff for changes it made. Oh, actually, it failed to make changes. Interesting. Let's actually take a look locally. So it's in here in public, in old file. Seems like it still failed. No, it didn't fail. Interesting. Oh, right. It doesn't see a div because it's file not in the Git. If this file was in the Git, it would show us the change. But we can take a look at what it did. And we can see that it's not, like we can try to revert. So this is how it looked. This is what ChatGPT did. And we can try to load the file. Something's wrong. Give me a sec. Okay, here, let's go. Yeah, so it still works. It updated only CSS. The graphic renders the same way, but it works. So it worked. Not from the first try. It had some issue on the first try, but then it worked. So, but it works with local files. I'm actually working on a thing where it will work on the web. So it will connect to my server. You can edit web application. You get a link, and link will be auto-updating and reloading as you are working with it in ChatGPT. UX of that will be slightly worse. It will not be in the same window as it's for artifacts in Claude, but you can do very interesting things here. You can like connect to that thing, run code there, run tests, get errors back, and so on. So this is a thingy that I work on. Let's actually try to replicate with it the physics thing, but with Box 2D this time. Create in public folder physics HTML file. In it, write HTML and CSS and JavaScript that loads Box 2D from CDN and makes a physics simulation where when I click under the cursor, a ball is created. There is also gravity center in center of the sandbox. Let's try. Let's see. So it's doing something. It tried to create a directory. It didn't need to. It created a file. Now it tries to write the code. You can also see that it's actually not showing code to me. I can explicitly ask it to show the code to me, but I prefer by default that it doesn't show the code, it just does the thing. And then I can ask for it, or I can view it in the action, like I'm viewing here what it actually did. But it could take some time. Let's see. Okay, confirm. I didn't check what it wrote, but we can probably see. So yeah, it wrote a bunch of code. It seems it worked. We can take a look. And actually, I don't even need to. I mean, it gives me a link to a file where I can view code as it is instead of that. So let's try to refresh. There is physics file here. Let's preview. What I see is just a gray line. Are there any errors? Yay, there is an error. Similar that we had before in Claude. But let's take a look. So for now, I don't have a connection to runtime errors. this is work in progress. But I will have them a bit later. I got error. Let's see if it can fix it. And also let's take a look at what it did. So this is physics simulations. Okay, it has an error. I have an idea what we can do afterwards. But let's see first what it does. This time it actually shows the code to me. No. We can actually do something. Research internet, for example, of box 2D with CDN links. Maybe you have a link. Just give it a little bit of a hint. Don't write code for me, just update file. So I actually made a pause on working on this project because they released ChatGPT with 4.0, which changed things in ways that are a bit unpredictable. I did prompt it to not write code for me, but you can see that sometimes it still decides to. I still need to improve prompting here. So they did change something. I'm not sure it's gonna work completely. Let's give it a try. It feels like something still is off. Okay. Okay. Let's give it again. Now that it read some examples, it still should be better. Yes. Don't show me the code until I ask. Just make changes to files. What's interesting, I can have also a multiple custom GPTs here with multiple actions, and I can switch between them. I can ask something like, hey, something, I don't know. Yeah. Mermaid, do something. Playground, do something. Websmith, do something. I can ask others, get some information from them, and to chat, and then ask Server Commander to do something with the information I pulled out of them. I can actually combine a lot of functionality in fun ways. We will get in conclusions what I think about it. Okay, so we updated it again. What now? I think it's still... Yeah, we are not lucky with that. Okay. In theory, it should work, but let's quickly take a look at code. So it tries to load this. For whatever the reason, it doesn't load. Okay, last try. Last try. Still error. Try to modify file so that it's closer to how you found tutorials. So it loaded the file, it revised the code, it still fails, largely because, out of curiosity, let's take a look. So let's take a look at examples it found before. Okay, so here is a GitHub it found, which doesn't contain any full examples. So maybe that's the reason it fails, because it probably needs to work differently with the After this, we'll try to do it just with the JavaScript, no physics. And yeah, it still makes an error. I actually wonder, we're in console. So even if it's loaded, let's actually go to network. Okay, it fails to load for whatever the reason, because it's not found something package. Okay, let's like box 2D CDN. Let's try that. Just wonder if it's gonna work. So I would say that here ChatGPT failed. I wanted to show you how it can do something that Claude doesn't, and yet it still failed. But that's wrong. It failed to copy. Open a new tab link. So this is the correct one. Well, at least somewhat correct one. Still may fail. B2, Vec2. But anyways, doesn't work. In this case, sometimes it doesn't. Oops. Let's give another try, this time without box2d. Create in public folder file physics to HTML. In it, make a toy with physics. When I click, the ball should be created. There should be gravity center in the center, and ball should fly. I can create many balls and they should collide. So, similar prompt. You're gonna try to use third-party library again. Just different one. I asked for box2d, but it failed with box2d. Now let's try something else. Actually, it doesn't need to write again for me. So we're in Server Commander. Just do things done. Code to me. So it's running command. Can Claude speed and quality, how like it does less errors and it works faster. It's a big deal. It does feel that that OpenAI will need some kind of answer to that. And in my view, actually, like in some ways, GPT-4 Omni feels slightly worse than what we had before. So it created a file. There is a link. Let's go here and check files. There should be physics2. Let's say if it works. Okay, so it did that. We have colliding colliding balls. There is no gravity. Let's ask it to update. So again, from first prompt, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's same in Claude and in ChatGPT, but it feels like ChatGPT gets it slightly wrong, slightly more often. Okay. Everything works, but center ball does not have gravity that attracts other balls. Let's see. Don't show, just update. Again, I actually asked, this is the example where I think Omni is worse than just fourth version. Fourth version was pretty good at picking up instructions, like don't show me the code, just update. While actually the Omni insists in showing you stuff. It's kind of a chatterbox. It wants to write a lot of stuff for you that I don't maybe want. Claude Sonnet feels better at this. They actually have a secret sauce. They have so-called invisible and like antropic thinking tags that they don't even send to clients. So you can ask it like, think in a way that you don't show the user doesn't need to know, it's just for you. Okay, it writes some kind of big update. It decided that this time it needs to rewrite a lot. Right? Ooh, that's a big update. Okay, it updated it. And still no gravity. Wow. I've put a ball so it stands. What the hell? I still don't have gravity. Oh, okay. Maybe I know what's wrong. Gravity should be radial, centered on a central ball, not going down. Let's try again. Last try. And then we will wrap up. This is already a pretty long video. Huh. It's actually did a very small update now. And it was fast. Now, this is something Claude doesn't do, but let's see if it worked. It didn't. Wonder if metter.js even allows. Does metter.js allow such gravity that is centered and not just going down? Search internet. Now I'm actually asking it to do something that Claude can't, like research the internet. Oh my god, metter.js doesn't natively support radial gravity. Okay, I think we are done here. It picked slightly a wrong library for what I was trying to do. Let's actually ask it something else. Can you just do it in JavaScript? Do not use third-party libraries. Okay, not today. Okay, actually, let's finish here. And let's draw some kind of conclusion. Where are we? Is Claude better for you? Or is it ChatGPT? Well, there are some ways in which Claude is better. User experience, in my view, is better. This preview inside of the chat is pretty cool. It also is faster. It also gets things from the first try, so quality more often than ChatGPT. So quality of the outputs is often better. And this also improves speed positively. But there are some things in which ChatGPT still holds its own. It has a lot of functionality added through custom GPTs that call third-party APIs. You can search things in Bing, get documentation, get ideas, get tutorials into the chat quickly. For Claude, you would need to find them yourself and add to the chat yourself. As I showed, you can also do things like pull out stuff and search stuff in your file system if you want. This is not really strictly available and easy to do, but it's possible and probably will be done eventually in some way. And you can do other things. You can publish things to third parties, which is not possible in Claude. Overall, it kind of feels like Claude is something like mobile Safari. It has better user experience, but limited functionality to some extent that cannot be extended by third parties. Well, ChatGPT currently with custom GPTs feels more like Chrome with Chrome Extension Store. So you can find extensions that, I don't know, block ads, do other things that are useful things. Most of us use some extensions. Now, what is for you? I think I will cancel Claude in a month and I will stay here because this is important for me. This gets me to the end. With Claude, there are some things I cannot easily do there. I actually lose speed or quality of the outputs, which I can get through those custom calls in ChatGPT. So I suspect that in a month, I will cancel Claude and I will leave ChatGPT. Well, I am also curious to see what ChatGPT reaction will be to what Claude has released. Are you curious how it's gonna go? Well, subscribe, and we will see. I will share my experience in a month. Are you interested in where Server Commander goes? I actually want to release a version of it publicly that is closer to how artifacts work. Interested in that? There are some videos coming up and the public release. So subscribe for that as well. Maybe you're interested in something else? Well, leave a comment. I can do a tutorial on some stuff that maybe I've glossed over. Thank you, and see you next time.